CTO. He will be talking about trends and will be tying the latest trends and the theme of keep charging to the program. Yuval.
Thank you. So, one thing to start to do is go into Kahoot IT, kahoot.it, enter that number, enter a call sign, so you'll be able to participate and show us what's your view on trends. Three, 4, 6, 2, 1, 5. Two, 1, 5. 3, 4, 6, 2, 1, 5. So we're more or less challenging the limits of the system, but we'll see. So we'll start and you can join along the way. So these, by the way, were the trends last year. Let's start with just understanding who you guys are. We have some thinking around who are the people in our conferences these days. But let's see who you really are. How much experience do you have with Agile? Sound a bit. So, we have a couple of very experienced people, more than, it splits pretty evenly throughout the stage, which kind of is the trend that we're seeing. The trend of recharge basically means that we're seeing new people always joining the conferences. There are a lot of people here that are just starting up, but more and more people have some experience, and the organizations that they're in have some experience as well. So let's see how the experience looks like in the organizations. So where is your organization in the Agile journey? We have a couple of options that we talk about, whether it's just starting up, whether it's rolling out your agility. Maybe you're stable, you're recharging, digesting, which basically means if you did some reached some level of agility and are now just maintaining it actively, or it just happens. And the last category is boosting, meaning you now are trying to recharge and go towards the next level. This, by the way, is the Agile Sparks way. It's our way of looking at this journey. We use it to help people understand the steps in the journey and what to do it wherever they are. So the majority is boosting. Interesting. That I would have said that the majority are stable and recharging and digesting, but a lot of you are boosting, which is kind of a good sign. It actually relates to what we're seeing in the market. We're seeing more and more, both in Israel as well as globally, organizations who are already doing Scrum, already doing Agile at some level, and are now trying to go to the next step to do something about glass ceilings that they're seeing. And now the question is, what do you look for here in the conference? Are you looking to stabilize? Do you see a lot of growing pains and you're looking for solutions that will help you stabilize Agile in your context? Are you trying to reset? So you're stuck in a bad place and you want to reset and get on the right track? Are you trying to improve, understand what are your options of improving, or are you just starting up and trying to understand how to do the initial liftoff? So it would be interesting to see what you expect. I can tell you that, again, in the industry, we always see a mix of people looking still to do liftoffs, especially if it's IT organizations that are way behind the high-tech companies. And now we're seeing more and more high-tech companies that are looking to improve. And we see some people that try to do Agile in some form or other and are looking for a reset. So that's certainly the market from our perspective. Yeah, so a couple of resets, but the majority is looking to improve. And not too many people looking for liftoffs, which is a sign of maturity for the conference. Amongst the, 300 answers more or less, only 40 are looking for how to start things, which I'm glad to see that this is the situation, because the program, when we'll go over it, we'll see that it tends more to people who are looking to improve. So, when you try to improve, one of the things that you see is typically the glass ceiling. Glass ceiling means there's something in the way that you are doing things that is basically blocking you from reaching the next step. So my question to you is, in your Agile journey, do you know where's the glass ceiling? Did you break it already and are beyond it? Or are you even aware of it or sure it exists? Or how sure are you that it exists? Oh, it's there, is the winner. Only a couple of people broke it. That kind of makes sense. And a lot of people are not really sure where it is. So maybe you'll get answers today from seeing some case studies and some thinking tools around where your glass ceiling might be. But for those of you who think you know, let's see what is your glass ceiling. So is it structure, the silos in the organization, the we versus the they, the current roles of people? Is it really reaching out to customers? Legacy technical practices or tools? You might go visit the continuous everything track if that's your choice. Or is it management culture or style in the organization? We have a culture track as well. So most of you, think it's management, culture, style in the organization. I'm glad we brought David to give a keynote, if that's the answer. Or maybe it's a result of David's keynote. Who knows?
Just a safe way to say to management, you need to get better.
Yes, yes. And then there's a tie between the structure and the legacy technical practices. And real customer collaboration gets on both as well. So, another big trend that we're seeing is scaling, scaling, scaling. Last year, Dean Leffingwell gave the Lead in Scaled Agile Framework keynote, and we're seeing a lot of organizations trying to look at scaling. We have actually a scaling landscape talk in this track later on today, around 12. But the question here is, how many people are actually working together in a single project or product or release in your organization? So how much scale are we looking at? So most people are at the 10 to 30 people range. And next to that, it's 30 30 to 100, and a couple are working on more than 100 people. So one of the things that you need to ask around scaling is how many people are there that are working together. You can deal with organizations of 1,000 people without too much scaling challenges if you split them the right way. But a lot of the discussion that we'll have in the scaling track is around, okay, how do we treat with the situations where we have a lot of these dependencies between people, and if we cannot cut it in a clean way. So for those of you that are working with these kind of big groups, what do you do today? How do you solve the Agile scaling challenge today? Are you using Scaled Agile Framework or something similar, large-scale Scrum or something similar, end-to-end flow using Kanban, some Spotify style, and the fifth answer would have been other, but there are only 4 options. So raise your hand if the answer was other. And if it's none? Okay. So, most of you, wow. That's interesting. So, end-to-end flow using Kanban is the winner, probably the only conference, the only Agile conference in the world where that would have been the answer, I guess. Especially since Ambox probably has a lot of people here. So 34 to safe, and then Spotify and large-scale Scrum. So if you're doing one of those and want to hear about the other, the scaling landscape panel is probably the place to go. Now let's go back to basics a bit. So at the teams level, which Agile approach do your teams use? Is it mostly Scrum? Mostly Kanban? Maybe Scrumban, which is some sort of hybrid between the two, or something else? That's more like it. Yeah, so Scrum is still the leading way of doing Agile in the field. We see the hybrid between Kanban and Scrum going second best. And actually what we see in the field when talking to new teams that are going into Agile, in a lot of cases that's actually the method that they choose when they look at all of the options. They choose something that is in between, trying to get the best of both worlds, both the flow world of Kanban and the time box iterations and Agile teams world of Scrum, and that makes a lot of sense. And we also see some teams from that blue group trying to move towards flow more and more these days, but they typically do a combination, which is what we recommend. There are very few situations when we recommend Kanban without the cadence or the rhythm and the team's approach of Scrum. So, a big debate in Agile Sparks when working with clients is about stories. You're probably all familiar or should be familiar with the INVEST model that Bill Wake created. Now, a question about that model, it has 2 things that are important. One is that the story should be valuable, V, and that the story should be small. Now, between those 2, which is more important in your perspective? We've had heated debates about this, and you can hear a lot about our answers to that in Segni's talk in the product track about show me the value. So, more or less a tie. Yeah. So one of the things that we're seeing in the field, and you'll really have to go to the product track to see it in more depth, is that a lot of people think that the story should be small, and they're willing to give up value because of that. And in a lot of major enterprise contexts, that actually makes a lot of sense. But what we're seeing is that we do a combination between a bigger unit, typically called a minimally marketable feature, that holds the value, and the stories are more integrative and testable, but smaller and enable faster iterations. We see that combination as something that really solves a lot of problems for organizations, and I can tell you, you can grab Yael from our team in one of the breaks, and she can tell you about one story where just moving from technical stories to really effective stories, just doing that change was a major boost to a big product development group. It actually drove them to rethink a lot of what they were doing around Agile, and we see that as a strong catalyst for change. And those are the things that we are looking for, you know, the small things that you can do, you can identify, and you can, on your own, look at something and try to think about it differently and try to do a slight change, and then it will drive or catalyze or spark a big change in your organization. If we're talking about change, it's a good opportunity to mention that we had David opening up with a keynote about leadership, and Linda Rising, who is over there somewhere, right, Linda? Linda will be the closing keynote at around 3:40, and she will be talking about fearless change. Okay, so ideas for how to, or patterns for how to manage change effectively, or do change, deal with change effectively in your organizations. Her models and patterns are amazing. It's actually one of the first books that I've read as an Agile coach back 8 years ago, I think. I still have the hard copy, and she now has a new book and tells amazing stories, so highly worthwhile to stay and learn about some ideas for how to drive change in your organization. So another thing that we're seeing is the theme of motivation and engagement. David touched it. And we're seeing some different things in different organizations. So the question to you guys is, how has Agile impacted motivation or engagement in your organization? Has it stayed the same? Did it go down? Was it hurt? You're not sure? Or it actually improved things? So I'm pretty interested to see what the answers will be. By the way, what you see in the picture, you might be familiar with Maslow, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is our own new variant on top of it, including autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and technical safety, which are things that we look at when we look at motivation and engagement in the software development world. So, most of you think it improved motivation, and a lot of you are not sure, so you might be looking for ways to check that, okay? Some people think it hurt it, and the smallest group said it didn't change. Now, if you're interested to learn more about how motivation and engagement relates to Agile and some tools and techniques, what to do about it, we have a session called Leading Agile Software Teams in the Culture track, and to talk about lean culture as well, where you will hear some ideas for how to assess the level of engagement and what to do about it. Yael and Sagi, who are driving also our Leading Agile Teams program, will provide you a model for how to do those things using another survey. So that would be interesting as well. Another question is, are you learning personally, individually, besides going to conferences? Are you learning, improving, boosting your knowledge of Agile? How often do you read or watch something related to Agile? And it's a good time to mention that if you want to learn or read more about Agile. We maintain a pretty up-to-date library on our site. That's the link, or just go to agileSparks.com/resources. Yes, we're in Israel, and I guess all over the world that would be a problem, but in Israel, we are not very good about those things, so most of us don't really read too much. So it's something to talk about and figure out what to do there, but we don't see a trend of change in that direction. So next question, what track will we find you in most of the day? Okay, I will describe the tracks in some more depth in a bit, but in general we have this room, which will be about scaling and case studies from Cloudband and Siemens and the scaling landscape discussion. We will have the product track, where we will have topics like cost of delay and real options and show me the value, and some ideas around how to use data from the field to drive product decisions, a talk by HP. We have the continuous everything, which is the technical track, combined with the culture track. And the last track is the Danko Zone, which is the practical and fun track. No idea what's going on there. I was told people with epilepsy problems and pregnant women should not go there, but you might try. That's good. So I'm glad to hear, because that means that there will be a sitting place for everybody during the day. Okay, so once you answered, we immediately recorded your answer and we will not let you into another room. The bad news here is that we have 200 answers and we have around 600 people in the conference. So, but at least from the people that responded, we're in good shape. So next question, have you installed the conference app already on Bizabo? Okay? You can download Bizabo on the App Store or on the Google Play. They tell me is what people on Android use. Search for Agile Israel 2015 or just upcoming events and then join. You might want to use your LinkedIn or Facebook account so it recognizes you and connects you. You will find the detailed agenda there, maybe some offers from the sponsors, special offers for tomorrow's workshops, which we're running, so it's the place to be up to date about things that are happening. Not yet. Okay, so now's the time to do it. And a lot of you are not interested. Come to me in the booth and ask me, tell me why. I'm really interested to hear what people want to do with this and don't want to do with this, so pretty interested to hear your opinion of it. Some more things. So the program that you have in your hands, let me explain a bit about how it goes. So after I'm done here, which is probably a good, I should finish soon because we're a bit late, we'll go on a short room change break. After that break, we'll have two talks in parallel. One is Domenica de Grandes, which will talk about dealing with shifting priorities and using lean Kanban flow in order to deal better with the world of work. The other option is Advanced Scrum, which is Danko's new way of taking Scrum, boosting Scrum to the next level. That would be in room 7, which is over in that direction. After that, we'll have a coffee break. And after the coffee break, we break into the 4 tracks, okay, which I mentioned. Then we have, actually this is not up to date, so let's blank it. Or do something else that will. After that, we'll have another session in the tracks, and at around 12:30, 3 of the tracks, the product, continuous everything, and practical fun go to lunch, and the case studies and scaling track continues with the scaling landscape discussion here for a bit more in order to balance the load for lunch. We're a lot of people, so we're trying to do what we can to balance the load a bit, limit the whip on the lunch or something. And then we return from lunch at 1:40 in the 3 other tracks, and at 2:15 here, again with the Siemens story. We'll have a couple of more track talks, and then at 3:15 we have the ice cream break, yogurt or something, I think, coffee and ice cream. And then we have Linda here at 3:40 for the closing keynote. Again, highly worthwhile staying for that. If you have questions about the program, find anybody with an Agile Sparks shirt, and they will be able to help you figure out where to go, what's recommended for your context. You can find me as well and talk about it. And one last thing is that you might be aware we have 3 very special workshops tomorrow with 3 of our guests here in the conference. The first one is a Kanban for DevOps operations class with Domenica De Grandis, which you'll be able to hear here after the break. The other one is a workshop about cost of delay with Joshua Arnold. If you're interested to hear what that's about, it's in the product track. If you're interested to learn more after the session, come talk to us in the booth, and we can register you, or just go to the conference site from your app and you can register there. And the last one is about design thinking, which is about providing more empathy and more understanding of the customer and the users when you try to build your product backlog and do product management or product ownership. And that's with Ariel Fliegler, who's a real expert on those things. So those are workshops. If you're interested to learn more about them, again, grab somebody with an Agile Sparks shirt, or the speakers or the facilitators themselves for the workshops, and discuss it. Anything else that we need to cover from a logistics perspective? There is? No. Okay. So, let's see. So the slides here will be available, of course, afterwards. All of the slides will be available afterwards. That's a good point to mention. We'll have it on the conference site or on SlideShare or somewhere. You'll all get emails about it, especially if you go into the Bizabo app. You'll get updates about those things. We are videoing one session in each track, and those will be released as well. So enjoy the day. A lot of learning, a lot of fun, and keep charging your Agile. Thank you. We're going into a short room change.